A bell tent, so a cone, has a diameter of 25 feet. So that's all the way across. So from here to here, that's going to be 25 feet. Makes an angle of 30 degrees with the ground. So that's this side and this side. Doesn't matter which side. So I'll put 30 here. So what you're going to want to do is cut this triangle exactly in half so that you're working with a right triangle. So I'm going to redraw this just using the right triangle part. So 30 degrees is still right here. So it says, what is the height of the tent? So you're solving for x. So that x is over here, the height of the tent. And so be careful here because the 25 was all the way across, but you have to do 25 divided by 2 because you're doing halfway across. So that's 12.5. So that means it's 12.5 down here. So I'll put it in small here, 12.5. So that's halfway across. Okay. So now we're just going to label our sides. So from the 30 across from it is the opposite side length. And then we care about the 12.5. So across from the 90, so the slant length would be the hypotenuse. We don't care about that one. So the other one's called the adjacent. So this 12.5 is the adjacent. So we're using opposite with adjacent. So the one that works with that is tangent. So you're doing tan of the angle, 30, is opposite. So that's up top over the adjacent, which is 12.5. So I'm going to put a 1 over the tan 30, and then I'm going to cross multiply. So when you cross multiply, you're just going to type in your calculator 12.5 times tan 30 and hit equals. So I get 7.2 feet. Okay, let's look at number 9. So number 9 says use Pythagorean theorem to calculate the slant length. So I'm going to redraw this triangle right here. That's what we're working with. So if I redraw it real quick, what do we know? We know 12.5 is here, and we know 7.2 is here, and we're solving for the slant length, this length right here. I'm going to call it C. So if you don't remember the Pythagorean theorem formula, you're going to go to your formula package, and you're going to go to trig. So if I go to trig in the formula package, you can see right here, it says Pythagorean theorem, and if you're solving for the slant length, it's this formula right here. C squared equals b squared plus a squared. So that's what you're going to use. So I'm going to rewrite that. So c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So the a and b doesn't really matter where they are. I'm going to put b down here. I'm going to call this one b, and I'm going to call this side a. C matters. C is the slant length. So all you're going to do is sub and solve. So c squared equals a is 7.2 squared, which is the exponent of 2, plus 12.5 squared. So all that means is 7.2 times 7.2. But I'm going to use the exponent button on my calculator. So I'm going to go 7.2 to the exponent of 2 equals, so that's 51.84 plus 12.5 squared, which is 156.25. And then I'm going to add them together, and that equals 208.09. And so I'm not solving for c squared. I want to know the answer for c. So you have to square root both sides. So look for your square root button on your calculator and just do the square root of 208.09. And I get 14.4 feet. It should be bigger than the 12.5 because it's the hypotenuse. It is. So that's great. Okay, let's look at number 10. So number 10 says, what is the SA? SA stands for surface area. So you're finding the area of the whole cone. So if you don't know the surface area formula, then you have to go back to your formula package and go to measurement. And then I'm going to scroll down to the 3D because we're doing a cone. And you could see cone says surface area is pi times the radius bracket radius plus s being the slant length. So that's the formula you're going to use. So surface area is pi times the radius bracket radius plus the slant length. So the radius was 12.5. And then I'm going to put another bracket and go 12.5 plus the slant length, which was the 14.4. So if you've got a good calculator, you can just type it in as you see it. Use the pi button, not 3.14. If you don't have a very good calculator, then I would add what's in the brackets of 12.5 and 4.4. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to rewrite pi 12.5, and I'm going to add those two together. So right here. So that worked out to 26.9. And then you can just use your calculator and go multiplied and multiply them together. So pi times 12.5 times the 26.9. And I get 1056.4. Now remember, this is area. So we're doing square feet. So you can either write square feet or you can write feet squared. Okay, now let's look at LSA. So surface area is the area of the whole cone. So that's basically the area of this part that you would hold on to if you were thinking of an ice cream cone and the bottom of the tent. Lateral surface area is only area of the cone part, so not including the bottom. So that's what we're going to solve for. Now there's a formula for that as well too. So just go back to your formula package and go into the measurement and you can see lateral surface areas right here, LSA, pi times radius times slant length. So that's all I'm going to use. So LSA is pi times the radius times the slant length. So pi, the radius was 12.5 and the slant length was 14.4. So just multiply those three together. So pi times 12.5 times 14.4 equals, and I get 565.5, and that's square feet or feet squared.